any mothers here, and happy Mother's Day to all of you, because you all have mothers, right? So I was sitting over here trying to make a post to my wife. We have 3 kids. And it's amazing, I have very few pictures with my wife and our kids, but she has tons of pictures with me and the kids. And so maybe for next Mother's Day, I'll make a better effort, right? So I charge all of you as well. Just by way of a brief introduction, my name is Matthew Gibb, and I am likely the only real estate attorney in the room, right? And so what is a real estate attorney doing in a room full of very smart people that are working in autonomy and connected mobility? I chaired the task force here in Oakland County for connected vehicle and deployment of infrastructure for about the last 8 years, up until the last year, and I'll explain to you what I'm doing with my partner now in education. 2 years ago, I was in Barcelona and working with the government of Barcelona and giving a big presentation about the strategies on how you can deploy connected vehicle technology from an infrastructure side. I am really attuned to the ideas of what autonomy is and can be, what connectivity is and the safety factors that can come from it, but also very much attuned to the reality of you need an X and you need an I in large part to have regions and systems really implemented in work. Until we get to level 5 autonomy and cars don't have to have intersection signaling when we get there, right? And so we realized that that's probably another 10 to 15 years away before we really start to see policy from a government side. Oh, by the way, I have another check mark against me. I am a government guy too. So I'm not only an attorney, I'm a government guy. So for all the engineers in the room, that's okay. Because in Barcelona, it dawned on me that I became a lifelong learner through all of this process. I had to learn what connectivity was. I had to learn about the SRC, and I had to be able to stand in environments like I do now and really have a fundamental understanding from a learning capacity to be able to explain to young and old, in my world, if we're doing a DSRC network or a 5G network, what does all that mean? Now, how do we take an HMI, connect it with an IPv6 connection, and use an onboard unit to communicate to an RSU that allows us to have a system of connectivity? And I did such a good job in Barcelona that some people thought I was an engineer. And it really tipped me off the aspect of, if you're a lifelong learner, think of the strengths that you can have beyond what your capacities are today. So who is right now an engineer that's in the room? Okay. Who in the last 12 months has taken something to give you an additional credential and a certificate that is non-engineering related in the last 12 months? Right? So a couple of people are thinking broadly about what lifelong learning means. In my work in the Connected Vehicle Task Force, in Oakland County alone, we have 1,400 intersections that would require some level of connectivity. So if we were going to put a SPAT signal in an intersection, and we were going to have to communicate to an ADAS system and eventually engage that braking system so that the SPAT signal stopped the car before the accident happened in the intersection. Just in the county we're sitting in right now, 1,400 of those intersections. Almost 10,000 miles of connected roadway. There's 3,600 counties in the United States. When we look at the scale of the problem, I always say to my friends, what are you doing now? I say, listen, this is what I'm doing now. I'm training the person that can put the SPAT sensor in the intersection. So who in the room right now wants to have their career be, I want to go in a bucket truck and put SPAT sensors in intersections? No? But who? Well, that's a good one, right? I wouldn't mind doing that because I know that the average salary of that person right now in Virginia is about $72,000 a year. So from a starting standpoint, not a bad career start. But for me, who wants the safety benefits of a SPAT signal so that we don't have accidents, right? There's wrong with that, right? I realized in the Connected Vehicle Task Force that the workforce component of connected and autonomous mobility is being forgotten except for engineers. So a year ago, we formed the Next Education. The Next Education really is something that boils down to these four traits here: continuous growth and continuous learning. We are not educators. I already said I'm an engineer government. I'm an attorney government guy that thinks he's an engineer, right? I'm not an educator. Lawrence Tech, Dr. Woodfield and everybody else, they know me very, very well. They wouldn't hire me as a tenured professor here at Lawrence Tech University. My partner, Lana Farnsworth, really wanted to come, but I insisted since it was Mother's Day that I would come today and she could enjoy the time with the children. She's not an educator. What we are is subject matter experts that know about 500 subject matter experts across the country in connected autonomous mobility, cybersecurity, and drone. And so we formed a company called Next Education that wants to capitalize on that, and we're trying to solve a certain problem that we have in the world. I love the statistics that came from Deloitte and Cisco. They both kind of did it at the same time back in 2008. So 11 years ago, we had as many things connected as we had people on the earth, right? So if you know your math back then, we were at about 7 billion people or so, a little less than that, 6.8 billion people. So we had as many things connected as we had people. But in 2020, which is just next year, they're anticipating more than 50 billion things will be connected in the world. All right, all of you great engineers are designing and creating the environment that those technology products can be launched. But who is going to be maintaining them? And who's going to install them into the operational capacity of an aftermarket piece of equipment in a car? Or who's going to have the idea that the world is changing and transforming around us from a scale standpoint? So we have mobility services are expected to grow to 130 million units in the United States by 2030. We already know that level 5 autonomy and a policy standpoint is being shoved into areas that will be restricted from a policy standpoint, and mobility as a service is going to grow exponentially. I love this statistic because today is the 18th birthday of my middle child, Megan, and she does not have a driver's license, which drives me crazy. So when you young people get 16, get your driver's license, because your parents love you, but when they have to drive you every day to all of your things that you love to do, this statistic becomes very pertinent. Less and less young people are getting their driver's license. Why is that? They want to live in urban environments. KPMG has identified in the United States about 70 areas where we're going to have hyper-urbanization over the next 50 years. It's a reality. It's where all this is going to happen. And so you see these statistics that if we do one car-sharing vehicle, we remove 25 vehicles, but we still have the same old problems, particularly in the United States, that 76% of us still drive ourselves to wherever we're going. So if my daughter does ever get her driver's license, I suspect she'll be like the rest of us in the United States and she'll drive herself. It's not an ideal thing, because what that does is it causes all of the massive congestion and the problems that connected autonomous mobility can solve. Many here think that, well, if we have level 5 autonomy, and I believe there's going to be level 10 or level 15 autonomy as our kids and our grandkids continue with all this, that'll solve basic fundamental crash avoidance. What I think it's going to solve in the first place is we spend billions and billions and billions of dollars in the United States sitting in traffic and dealing with accidents. So how many people, who knows how many people die every year in traffic accidents? How many people die?
30K.
And it's about, last year was 41,000. So every year we lose on average about 39,000 to 41,000 people every year in traffic accidents. For all of us that are trying to advance connected autonomous vehicle technology, we know that if we perfect this, then what will we do as our first and foremost thing? We'll save lives, right? So there's a cost to all of that. Last year, or 2017 in America, 3.2 trillion road miles driven, 300 trips to Pluto and back. The amount of traffic and things that we're putting on the road is immense. And here's how it's changing our world. So by 2022, it's estimated 700 million connected vehicles will be on the road. Will there be full autonomous vehicles on the road by 2022? There are right now. Is there a policy state right now that they allow you as an individual consumer to operate a level 5 autonomous vehicle on the road right now? There's not. So will it be there by 2022? I'm not sure. I work with the government people every day. I'm not sure they're smart enough to figure that out. But maybe, right? 708 billion connected vehicles. The market value of what we're talking about will escalate. It's about $5.7 billion right now as a market value. It'll escalate by 2023 to $157 billion of what this industry is worth. And this is where Next Education is hoping to come in along with all these great post-secondary institutions that we have. 9.5 million workers will be demanded in the next 5 years in the field of connected and autonomous mobility. We're not talking about engineers. 9.5 million workers to deploy connected autonomous mobility technology throughout the United States. Right now we have just over 900,000 people working in the departments of transportation across the country. Within those 900,000 people, less than 1% are working in connected autonomous deployment, meaning infrastructure, signalization, roadside units, and the like that will connect to the communication devices. So we have a huge issue, and we know in our world, because of my former work in workforce development and others, that we're not talking about chump change of the types of jobs that are being developed and being really forecasted out there in the future. And so at the Next Education, we're trying to partner, and we are partnering with our education world of K-12 and post-secondary to bring more hyper-awareness to these types of jobs. But these types of jobs, some require a degree, but not all of them do. There's some jobs, like a transportation engineer, you say, well, that's an engineering degree, right? No, because certain departments of transportation don't know what to call their jobs right now. So that transportation engineer job, which is currently posted in the state of Virginia, it starts at $60,000. They're looking for someone that has some post-secondary education. Could be less than a year. I'm already over time. I apologize, but I'm almost done. Some post-secondary education, but are willing to be credentialed in intelligent transportation systems so that they can get you up into the network system and operate. So a lot of jobs right now in the connected vehicle world and the autonomous vehicle world aren't really titled correctly. So the next education, we're trying to break some of that down, and our solution is to go after the real world, meaning, it reset, it's all good. Hi, Alex. So we're going after the real world, and this is where all of you come in. All right, so whether you're in a K-12 environment, you're in a post-secondary learning environment right now, you're working as an engineer, we must start to take the knowledge that you all have, whether you're young or old, and start committing you to be a subject matter expert so that your knowledge transfers itself into the minds of other people. Not just young people, but old people. The average age right now in the Department of Transportation across the country that works in this space is about 57 years old. It's the same crisis we have for plumbers and electricians and everything else in our society, right? So the next education takes real world expertise. We put it into a blended learning environment where we have some instructor-led, some learning management system online. We have a video product called MicroTracks, and we have courses. And we have right now about 60 courses that are all geared towards one purpose. We want to skill or upskill people into the world of mobility. We don't train people how to be engineers. I can talk it. I loved coming off the stage in Barcelona and the folks from Ericsson were there. Where'd you get your engineering degree? Because you know all of this DSRC stuff. Oh, I had to admit to them, I'm a government official that went to law school, and they laughed, right? So we want to skill and upskill people into the world so that the niche job categories where we know 9 million jobs are going to be really hyper available in the next 5 to 10 years, that we have the ability to take a 30-year-old and upskill them into a better skill. Take the existing engineer, take the technician level person, give them those skills that they want to get into these worlds. And in our world, we do microtracks. And so if you're someone that likes to gab and share expertise, and you're like, I'd like to make a few extra bucks, reach out to us. If you know somebody that does, reach out to us. If you're a young person that has expertise in advanced mobility, and you say, I'd like to make a few dollars and help this effort of really training and leading people, then we're more than happy to put you on our roster. Like I said, we have about 500 experts across the country. We could use 5,000 more, really, because the field has so much demand. And we would love to have you be involved with our program. Right now, we're a global team. My partner, Elena, at the top. We've got expertise. This is just a small sampling of who we are from around the globe. Some of our testimonials are cool. This is a course that we've recently done in Maryland. All of these gentlemen were pre-screened with substantial intelligent or IT background, information technology background. All of them now have been placed in intelligent transportation network operation jobs in the state of Maryland through a variety of companies. When they walked into our coursework, all of them didn't know what ITS stood for. When I said, what is an RSU? No idea, no clue, any of that stuff. And so I love Raymond here on the top is the guy that said the quote down there. Rick Dye, who heads up the Maryland Chart Center, which is their big state operations center. Raymond walked out and said, I just listened to 2 hours of the most technical aspects of how this works. I understood everything. And even I was really happy with that because these guys, as talented as they were in old-fashioned IT world, had not been upskilled. They let their credentials kind of lapse. All of their DoD credentials were done. And so we're upskilling those types of people and encourage all of you to do too. So that's what Next Education is in a nutshell. We are trying to take the expertise embedded within minds like yours, convert that into a curriculum that can be delivered in a credential or a certificate. We work with SAE, we work with IEEE, we work with all different types of agencies. We work with colleges, we work with community colleges, and we advocate in K-12 environment that you too can get exposed to a future that you never existed. So I'm over time, but that's okay. You said 15 minutes.
15 minutes, okay.
I can take a couple quick questions. Alex, I know that was your night, so thank you very much for thinking of us to come and share some of the things that we're doing in education.
Thank you for coming, Glenn. And I think the idea with the Next Education was also for obviously everybody that's here who wasn't here for the rest of the weekend to learn about, if you're looking to make the transition, but then also for the future generations and the kids who were here. It's like, what are some of the possibilities of like, where do you go next? Or as you grow older, like where can you go? And where can you learn to do more? And so this weekend was kind of like the beginning and just like the roots, but then how do you transition to the professional world?
Yeah, if anyone, young or old, wants to learn, well, what are some of the jobs that are really, you're kind of butting up against that they're not being filled, or types of descriptions. We have all that data research with us. We're a quick email away. Alex said they know how to get a hold of me. Feel free to contact us. If you want to get a little deeper dive, if you're a young person, you're like, what does my future really hold for us? We did a study about 3 years ago that was with 300 employers in connected vehicle. So not autonomous, but just connected vehicle work. And the idea of it was, what are going to be the 15 jobs in the 2020s that will be the most demanded jobs in connected mobility around a connected vehicle? The number one most demanded job was something that there is no degree for currently right now anywhere in the country. You can combine some things. If you could actually combine degrees that were learning about systems engineering, that was also learning about advanced driver assist systems, that was also learning about electrical engineering, that was also learning about mechatronics in a program environment. If you could start to combine all of those things in one degree, which would be like a superhuman degree, I guess, here at Lawrence Tech, then you would have that job description. The employers were saying these are the skills we need. And so what we're doing at Next Education is we're working with universities like this one to try to break some of that down. Can you be an electrical engineer that gets credentialed in systems engineering related to autonomous mobility? So if you want to find out anything about those types of things, then you find it, all right?
One quick question.
Yes.
So how do you create a fast track for something as complicated as autonomous cars or automation of systems?
So we believe one is you need to learn from the expert, right? So our educators are brilliant in the way they put the curriculum, but you learn from an expert. So we'll bring somebody in that has that specific expertise. You really need to tie in some experiential learning. And so if you're going to be learning in a new systems approach, so say you're going to be asked, I really need to get credentialed in cybersecurity around traffic management and network operations, then we will bring you into an experiential environment while you're getting that credential. And so you'll have an expert who will take you right into an operations center to have you learn firsthand. We use some of your brilliantly designed products in our adult classes for our fundamentals of intelligent transportation. So the Autonomy Club has built a little car kit, and so we're grateful to be partnered in that so that they can learn firsthand or have see how this works now going forward. And so for us, it's very important that you have that hands-on experiential learning going forward. We do that somewhat with video, so our microtrack series, like I say, if you're good at camera and you've got really good expertise, we'd love to talk to you. Our microtrack series is, instead of you looking at a webinar with someone like me talking, it's like Seamus Hatch from the UK talking about the status of connected vehicle autonomy in London. And a lot of people don't know who Seamus is. I would love to hear from him. So he becomes our lecturer with us doing hands-on learning. So it's a hodgepodge of things. All right, so I want to keep you on track.
Yep. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause.